Assalamu alaikum and welcome to Behind the Blind. This is Nadir.
And this is Yadira.
Why do you always take a second?
I don't know. I was paying attention.
This is Nadir. And this is Yadira.
I was distracted by something.
So, welcome to Behind the Blind. And today we will be speaking to Yadira about dogs.
Guide dogs.
Guide dogs.
Yeah.
Doggy dogs.
I love dogs.
Snoop Doggy Dog.
Definitely not.
All right. All right, Dita. So, last episode we talked about your blindness.
Yep.
So now this episode we will be talking about your journey with guide dogs.
Yeah.
So
and where that all started, right?
Do it, inshallah.
Inshallah. So,
Bismillah.
So I remember, I think my first encounter with a guide dog was, I think it was about 5 years old, and we had gone to one of these, there was a thing going on for the Commission of the Blind, and they had convinced my grandmother to take me because I would enjoy it, and it was an event for blind children.
What is the Commission for the Blind?
So the Commission for the Blind is a state agency in New Jersey. So it's a governmental agency, and they provide services for blind individuals, particularly students. I think they work with with people who aren't students, but their main focus is usually students, and that ranges all the way from pre-K through college, and that's usually what their heaviest focus is on, or at least that's been my experience. And I'm sure Nadia would agree with that.
Yeah.
But so one of these events that I don't know if they sponsored it or whatever. I was 5. I don't know the ins and outs. But I know we ended up going to this event, and it was like, what is that? Taxidermy, I think.
Taxidermy is whenever they stuff animals.
Yes, that's what it was.
That's taxidermy. Yep.
It was a taxidermy, and so they had all these kinds of animals, and they had, I remember, bears and lions and bison and little squirrels, and I don't know. I remember because I'm a huge animal lover. I was like, this is great. Now that I'm an adult, I'm kind of just thinking like, I don't know how I feel about taxidermy. It's a little.
It's not your jam.
I don't know. But when I was a kid, it was like, wow, this is amazing. I could actually touch these bears and things because it was very hands-on. That was kind of the point, right? Because you're blind, so you get to feel.
Yeah.
So it was actually really fun. But the thing that stood out to me...
The stuffed animals.
Yeah, the stuffed animals.
The alive stuffed animals. Well, they weren't alive, but
they weren't alive. But I think that's what freaks me out a little bit now. It's like, wow, those were at one point alive. Like, they probably shouldn't be sitting in that corner there. Like, that's...
Imagine if that's how real stuffed animals were.
No.
It's like, yeah, this was a real bear. It died.
That's horrifying. No.
We took all the bones out of it.
And
we filled it with stuffing, and we put a little remote inside of it. You press it, it goes, I love you.
That's more than creepy. Anyway, so that's why I'm conflicted on how, like, the whole taxidermy thing. Like, I think it was supposed to be an art thing or whatever, but I just, as an adult now, I'm thinking, I don't know about that. 5-year-old me thought it was really cool.
Okay.
So, but there was this lady there, this woman with her family, and she was completely blind. Now, I don't remember her name. But her dog's name was Christine.
So the dog matters more than the lady. That's what you're saying?
Yeah, to 5-year-old me.
Okay.
So
dog's name was Christine.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she was there with her guide dog. And I don't even remember how the introduction happened. And I remember the lady telling me, like, she asked me, because they were telling me there's a guide dog there. And that dog, her job is to guide around. And because blind people, this is what they're trained to guide blind people around. And I remember just like, this is a thing. Like, oh my God, my whole goal in life right then and there was, I need to get one of those. Mm-hmm. I've always been a huge animal lover. Dogs are my absolute favorite animal in the whole wide world. So, the little 5-year-old girl that was me was standing there just in awe. Like, this on top of being this amazing, loving creature, it guides too. Like, I don't even mind blown.
I don't even understand this right now. What is happening right now? Where am I?
Exactly. Where am I? So the woman got down to my level and starts explaining to me what the guide dogs are and what they do and how amazing they are. And then I was so excited, and she was like, would you like to pet her? And that was it. Like, I just exploded. I didn't yell or anything, but like my insides were like, oh my God, yes.
Yes, I want to pet her. Please
inside I'm
let me pet
screaming,
her,
oh my
please.
God. And so out loud, I'm like, yes, all shyly or whatever.
Yep.
And so she gets her dog to sit, and it was a lab. It was a black lab. And the dog, she got her out of harness, and she sat down, and I pet her, and the dog licked me all up, like my hands. And she was the sweetest dog in the whole world. Oh my God. In that moment at 5 years old, I knew that at one point I wanted a guide dog. Like there was no deterring me from pursuing that. There was nothing anybody could tell me. I wanted one, and I needed to get one.
Gotcha.
So that was my first sort of encounter with it. Now, quite frankly, my grandmother did a lot of things correctly in terms of raising me up to be independent, raising me to as anyone else would normally. However, she did not do well when it came to independent travel and the cane being used. She didn't like for me to use a cane. She had the very, I don't know if it's an immigrant mentality or if it's a mentality of parents in general who have blind children, because honestly, I was raised by a woman who was from Puerto Rico, not from here. So my only experiences with that personally. So she didn't want me to use the cane because, it made me look blind, and she didn't feel I needed that. But, the Commission for the Blind, again, really kept pushing for orientation and mobility instruction. So I'll just refer to that as O&M because that's what it's called. Yep. So I got O&M training, and I got to use my cane. However, the teachers at the schools were also not very supportive. And I won't really go into detail too much with that because I'm going to save that for something else. But needless to say, I got my O&M instruction. And then I think I was like in third grade. I was like 8 years old at this point, 8 or 9, something like that. And this other woman came. She worked for the Commission of the Blind. I don't even know why she was there, what she was there for, or what her name was, but her dog's name was Rosalind. I remember.
Bro, what's up with you remembering all the animals' names and not the people? It shows where your priority lies.
Well, I think it shows what impacted me more, and where I've always been really goal oriented, even as a kid. I've always been that weird person who kind of always has that mindset of I want to get something done, I'm going to do it. So I think what the focus, I find it pretty funny, but the reality is I think the dogs impacted me so much. And this idea that I could be traveling without someone sighted, without even a cane, which I personally didn't like. And I know a lot of people like, well, you didn't like it because your grandmother didn't like it. But I didn't like it because it didn't make me feel very safe. I always felt a little bit disoriented even using the cane, even if I used it well. I've never liked it.
Okay. That's fine.
So,
I get that. Okay.
For me, this isn't to say anyone else. Everyone has a choice, and you should have the choice to use what tool you feel is best to manage your disability. But for me, the cane just was never it. So this woman came with her dog Rosalind, and I remember because even in harness, the dog licked my hand, just a whole big lick. It was another black lab. Actually, I think hers was yellow, but it was another lab. I remember just thinking like, I need to have one of these. Like this woman walked in, got no assistance, did what she had to do. We went to where I think it was being tested for something. I don't know, being administered or test or seeing what, maybe might have been my IEP. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. What is an IEP?
Individual, I can't remember what it's called. Individualized Education Plan, I think it is.
I think that's exactly what it is actually. So yeah, we'll go with that. Go. That's what your child study team is, a team that will social workers and your certain teachers and things like that will work together to create a plan for disabled children, not just blind children, in public schools. Mm-hmm. And that's mainly so you can get the assistance you need and for the school to get the funding it needs for your assistance. But so the allure was just seeing that lady walking around, no help, no nothing.
Yeah, and she was just very confident. She was to me, as that 8-year-old person, she seemed like her whole self. Yeah. She didn't need the assistance, and if she needed help, she just asked, "Where do you go for this?" She got directions, she followed them, and her dog was just right by her side, following her commands and allowing her to have that independence. And I wanted that so badly. Like at no point did that wane, But we're still dealing with my grandmother not letting me travel independently and use the cane as much as I should. I did use it during school hours because, the teachers did want me to use it and I had to use it in school. But outside of school, that was not a thing. That wasn't really allowed, or it just didn't happen. So now I had been talking about getting a guide dog. I had been telling my grandmother this is what I want. And I think to an extent, she would say yeah, but it was more of patronage. She was kind of Like, yeah, honey, you can have that. That's fine. But I don't think she really realized that I was taking that lightly. I wasn't joking about it. I wasn't saying it in jest or in a passing fancy. Like, I meant it. I want a guide dog and I'm going to get it. So I got to high school and everything's fine. There was a couple issues that I ran into in terms of accessibility and people's attitudes towards having a blind student and all that. But that's for another day. And the focus here is a dog, right?
Yeah.
So I make it to high school, and I think it was my sophomore year, I want to say. Sophomore or junior year, I can't. I'm leaning towards sophomore year.
Okay.
And I applied to the Seeing Eye, which is the first guide dog school in America, and it was founded in 1929. Yeah.
Do they accept people that young?
16 years old.
Okay. So you applied when you were 15 or 16?
I applied when I was 16. So this might have been like I applied my sophomore year.
Your sophomore year, yeah, you turned 16 in May.
Yeah.
So at the end of your sophomore year, Yanni. Okay, go ahead.
But because of my very poor skills that my grandmother had not allowed me to develop in terms of traveling independently, I was denied. Okay. They came and they did their interview and they did do something called a Juno walk. And what that Juno walk is, it looks a little strange if you look at it from the outside in. The instructor that comes to test you will hold on to a harness, just the handle part, really. It's like not the part that the dog would wear, but it's the handle and the instructor holds onto one end and you hold on to the other, and your instructor leads you around as if you were a guide dog. They were the guide dog and you were the person guiding using them. Now, the issue with that was that I had no idea how to travel independently, so I wasn't able to give good directions. Now, in order to get a guide dog, you can't just show up and say, well, I want one, and that's it. You have to be able to travel independently. If you get lost, you have to be able to find your way without sort of losing it. You have to keep your cool. You have to know how to travel. You have to know how to judge traffic. And although I was taught these things in O&M, because I wasn't allowed to put them in practice at home or outside of school, especially crossing streets and things of that nature. Well, I mean, if you don't practice a skill, it's going to be rusty at best. At best, it's going to be rusty.
Yeah.
So it was horrible. I can admit that. And of course, I was just crushed and angry.
Dejected.
Yeah. And I was just like, and I have to be real, as much as I have a tendency to really elevate my grandmother, I have to acknowledge that she was not supportive in this at all. I think it really hit her at that moment that I was really going to pursue this. And she was like, well, it didn't work. So you see, that's not for you. It's not meant for you to do that. So you should leave this silly notion alone.
I think it boils down to her just wanting you to depend on her to do everything.
I think so. I think you say that only because you know.
Well, I know the ins and outs.
Yeah, you know my whole life.
Story, exactly.
You know my whole life, so you know a lot more than I think.
Everyone will eventually know here as well.
Well, not my whole life.
A lot of it.
But what I'm willing to share.
There you go.
And so, you will obviously, my love, always know more than, anyone else. But
speaking about your life, what's your blood type?
Get out of here with that mess.
Anyway, continue. Go ahead.
So instead of that sort of sinking, I've never been that person that I can't take no well. I never have. And I think Nancy would agree.
I know this firsthand, yes.
I don't do well with no. And so I was really disappointed, really angry. I was disappointed in myself that I let myself be convinced that I needed to depend on somebody to be guided. And then I was really angry that that's what I was offered, and that was my choice. I wasn't given anything else. You can't do that. And then when my grandmother told me this, she said, "Oh, that's not for you. Now you know better. You should leave that silly notion." It got me angry, and what it did was like, fine, you know what? That's fine. I'll focus on my academics. I'll graduate from high school, and then before I go to college, I will go and I will hone my independent traveling skills. I will get the O&M instructors to come out. I will do what I need to do. And then I will go apply for my guide dog and I will pass and I will get a dog.
That is your general stance on pretty much life.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that is you 1,000,000% of the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
So
am I correct in saying this?
I think so. I mean, I think, I don't know. This is your evaluation of me, right? Like that's what you think of me, and that's kind of awesome that you do. But for me, yeah, I think I try to be that way, rather than deciding, yeah, she's right and I can't do it. It upset me that, I'm going to prove you wrong. And that's literally what I set out to do. And so I did. I graduated from high school. I graduated at the top of my class. I was patient through all that. I went through a lot of stuff in between. That's just not for this topic.
Yeah.
And there was a whole lot. And then I went, and that'll come up again in a different story. I went to there was this college program at Drew University, and it was being held, again, by the Commission of the Blind for high school students who were thinking of being college bound. Now, there was one of the reasons I went. Quite frankly, I really didn't care about anything else, but they were offering O&M instruction, and I could get the instruction every day, and I could get it really intensely. And so I figured I'm going to go there, and I'm going to use it for that. I'm going to use this program for what I need it to be. So I did that, and after that, there was this training center that they offer for the blind in New Jersey. And I had no interest in going, except for the fact that they offered O&M instruction, and I could literally get this instruction pretty much every day, and I could hyper-focus on getting my skills very honed.
Well, this was it. This is what you were. This is what you wanted to make sure you wanted to get done. You wanted to make sure to get your skills so sharp that whenever you go back to the seeing guy, they have nothing. They have nothing to say to you other than
you're
welcome,
approved.
pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Okay,
in.
we'll place you. You know what I mean? So I did that. So the summer program was, I think, like 8 weeks or something like that. I did that, and then I did the training program, and that was about 16 weeks or so.
Summer program was 4 weeks.
Was it? I don't
Drew
remember.
was 4 weeks.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was. Yep, it was 4 weeks. It was something like that. I had done a few weeks prior, though, because I had called the Commission of the Blind, and I had an O&M instructor come out to my house for like a month prior to going to the summer program. So I did have about 8 weeks of really intense training, and then I went and I did a 16-week program, and I didn't really need the program. I actually ended up volunteering in a lot of the classes, but the one that I really volunteering as a helper, as an aide for some of the teachers. Like in particular, I helped the Braille instructor out because I know Braille, so I had no use for the class. And so I got a lot of O&M training, and the instructor that I had was like, yeah, you are a perfect candidate for a dog. I don't see you using a cane. You can clearly tell that you're not comfortable with it, but you're an excellent traveler. You use it really well, but you just don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got those skills up, and I went and I did my first semester of college, and I figured I would do that before applying so that I could apply these skills in real life. That was also part of my plan. I didn't want to just go from training to training. I wanted to be able to newly learned skills in practice. So I did that. And then in May of, after all of that, after I graduated, I applied for the seeing eye. It was like May or June, something like that. It was sometime over the summer. And the instructor came out to my neighborhood, and we did the Juno walk, and I passed. And he was like, so we got to my porch, and before I even went to the house, and he was like, so the first time you applied, we couldn't do this for you, but welcome. That's literally what he told me. He was like, congratulations. We will be placing you in our first available class. So that was a huge, like, oh my God, I was over the moon. I did it. I had actually did it. Like I had done it.
Was it the same guy?
I don't think so. Actually,
Whatever.
I don't remember. I do remember who came, who approved me.
Who?
His Dave Johnson. I think is the head of the training department now. He's awesome
I'm
guy.
literally asking who. Like I know this guy.
Right.
I don't know nobody. So I'm just trying to build the conversation here.
Right. So
Dave Johnson.
Yeah. Okay.
From the Uptown Johnsons.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I got placed finally, I want to say in January, because it was waiting list. So I had been just kind of practicing my skills and not letting them. I did another semester of college. I had been really making sure that I did not let my skills dull. And I finally got to go to the seeing eye, and my grandmother was not very thrilled about me going. She was actually very upset, and she tried to guilt me out of not going, and she tried to yell at me. She tried to all these different tactics for me not to go, but I was hell bent on going. And then at one point she was like, well, I don't know how you're going to find the ride. So I called my mother and I said, Mom doesn't want me to go, and I don't know, I need a ride. And she's like, I'm not going to help you get a ride. And my mom was like, okay, what time? Give me the address. So my grandmother ended up coming with us, because I guess,
she can't be shown up.
Right. How would it look like if she didn't?
Mm-hmm.
So my mom drove me to the seeing eye, and I started the training there with my first guide dog, and her name was Petunia. That's not my first guide dog, though. I was working very hard. I'll give you a little bit of insight here. Like at this point in my life, I am Muslim. I was not always Muslim, but at this point with my first guide dog, I am Muslim. And there was an incident. Okay, the dog was not doing well. She was caving under the stress of guiding. Now, when you get a guide dog, they are the cream of the crop. Like in any type of service animal, and this is not me just saying it because I'm bragging or whatever, Allah protect me from that, but they're the most intensely trained dogs. A guide dog, no other service animal receives the level of training that a guide dog receives, because the types of situations that they have to be involved in are pretty intense, and the level of work that they're doing. So when you get a guide dog, it's extremely well trained, very, very highly trained. These dogs, by the way, let me very quickly inform you a little bit. They're born at the Seeing Eye. I can tell you how the Seeing Eye does it. I don't know how every guide dog school does it, but I can tell you that the Seeing Eye does it. They're born and raised, they're born at the Seeing Eye, and then they have puppy raisers raise and socialize and teach the dog the basic commands, sort of sit, how to relieve themselves outside, come, rest, all your basic obedience commands, and then how to be socialized. So they take them everywhere to, from airports to parks to shopping, malls and stores to grocery places.
And these puppy raisers are just normal people, right?
Yeah.
Like it's nobody special.
If I'm not mistaken, they're just volunteer, like they're part of the 4-H club and things like that. And they're just, you can start puppy raising at the age of 9 at the Seeing Eye. I'm almost certain that's the age they start.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just normal people who are volunteering their time and energy and their hearts, because they get attached to these dogs, to get these dogs for a blind person. And so once a year or so passes, it's never less than a year. Sometimes it's a little bit longer, but it's never less than a year. The puppies are now returned to the Seeing Eye, where they start their training with the instructor. And that's 4 months with the instructor of training them. First of all, they even have to introduce them to the harness. You know what? There's a really good documentary that we saw, and it's not from the Seeing Eye, but it's a different guide dog school. I can't remember. Is it Guiding Eyes or
something?
It's called Pick of the Litter. If anybody's interested, it's great. It's actually,
I think the guide dog school was like Guide Dogs Are Us or something.
No, it's not. That's not even a school. It's either Guiding Eyes or Guide Dogs for the Blind in New York. It's one of the two. But it's really, really good, actually, because you get to see the whole process, and it was actually really, really well done. So Pick of the Litter, I would recommend that. But anyway, so then once these dogs are now done with the 4-month training, they get placed with the incoming students. And that's 1 month for a new student, for your first time dog, 1 month of training. And then, 2 or 3 weeks? I think it's like 3 weeks for every subsequent dog. I'll get to why that confuses me a little bit, because my situation was slightly different. But anyway.
Okay, so we're back to Petunia.
Petunia, she was a black lab, and she was
pressure.
caving under the pressure. She was using the bathroom on herself at night. She was walking me into poles, walking me into, the last straw was just walking me into oncoming traffic. And at that point, we had to pull her out and then reassess.
Well, because at that point, it's just dangerous.
It's just dangerous.
Right? It's like, like it's not good.
Yeah.
Not good at all.
So
you can't be walking into oncoming traffic,
and that's
bro.
why I think at that point, like I said, to me, I view this was a test from Allah. I was a brand new Muslim, and I was literally accomplishing a dream of mine since I was a little girl, and it was failing. It was literally falling apart. And I remember I also had just started praying too. Like I had just learned how to pray. And so this was like my new thing. I was learning how, I had just learned how to pray. And so I was praying now. And I remember that in the room, I would just stay in sujood forever, like literally in tears, because I couldn't understand what was happening. I was like begging Allah for help. Like, I need you through this. And subhanAllah, 2 weeks into the program, they told me, yeah, we have to pull her from the program, and we have to send you home, and you have to go home without a dog. And that was just, I couldn't stop crying. Like I tried to keep it together, because I don't like people to see me cry. I tried to keep it together until the instructor left, but it did not work. And I just broke. I just fell apart.
Mm-hmm.
Because this had been something I've been wanting since I was 5 years old, and I had worked so hard to get there. And my dream literally was 2 weeks ago was becoming a reality. 2 weeks later, it just dissolved into foam. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like that foam over the ocean where when you try to grasp it, it looks like a lot. And then when you try to grasp it, it becomes nothing. And that's what it felt like. And I couldn't stop crying. And right now I'm actually kind of getting a little emotional, because she was such a sweet dog, and I had such high hopes. So the instructor came and they led the dog away, and I called my grandmother crying. And I remember she said, well, now you learned your lesson. I'm glad. She's like, this is great. Now you get to go home and just forget all this mess. I told you, like, just forget all this ridiculousness. And I remember I lost it. And I was like, how dare you? How could you say that to me? Why are you being so cruel? Why are you being so unkind? She was like, what, you're not happy about this? I thought you'd be happy. I thought this is.
Why would anyone be happy? Like, that is, I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get it. Why would you be happy by not, getting the thing you've been working for pretty much all your life, hoping for at least all your life, and working hard for it for at least 2-3 years at that point, right?
Yeah.
Like 3-4 years?
It was about 3 years.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So I was devastated. And I remember that when I was at the seeing eye for that particular dog, a friend of mine, actually a friend of Nadir's too, he was there getting his dog. And I called him up and I said, I have to go home. They pulled the dog and he gave me the right response. He was really supportive. And he's like, I'm so sorry. I know how you've been working for this, but it'll work out. You just don't let this kill your dream. This is just a little pit stop. Like, this isn't the end of it. Just don't let this break you down to the point where you give up. And I said, I won't. And I went home and it was a few weeks before the next semester started. And I decided that I was going to try again. And I cried for a few days when I came home and I didn't want to do anything. And then after a few days of allowing myself to just and run through those emotions, through the anger, the sadness, the heartbreak, and just talking to Allah and praying and heavily relying and asking for guidance, I dusted myself off and my heart felt like, you're going to do this again. Like, subhanAllah, Allah put that feeling in my heart. Like, nope, you're going to go back. Like, this is not the end for you. So I was going through my semester and I think a few weeks in, it was only like 2-3 weeks in, the seeing eye called me and they said, okay, we have a class available for you in March. I said, I can't go in March because I'm literally in the middle of a semester. And so they were like, okay, what about and I was like, I can try May. So I kind of spoke to all my professors, but none of them were willing to let me do my finals at a different date or over online or anything. Like, they were just like, that's not an option. So if you don't do your finals, we're going to mark you as a fail. So I had to call the seeing eye and tell them I can't do it in May. My professors will not give me any leeway at all. So they were like, well, we have an opening at the end of May, Memorial Day weekend. And I was like, I will take it. That's it. I'm taking that one. My grandmother was working and my mother wasn't available this time. She had some, I don't remember what was going on. I don't think she didn't have her car or her car was in the shop, I think it was, or something like that. But she didn't have her car available at the time. So she couldn't help me. And I remember I called another friend of mine and it was so last minute. And I'm like, I need a ride and I need to go today. And she was like, okay, because she herself is legally blind. She was like, let me figure some stuff out. Give me 20 minutes. I'll call you right back. Sure enough, in 20 minutes, she was like, I'm headed to your house with my friend. We're going to take you. I didn't even know this girl that was taking me.
But she was like, let's go.
Yeah. And
let's go.
Yeah.
Yellow.
And so my friend shows up and she's like, come on, let's, we threw my bags in the trunk. And this girl, I got to know her then, like on the way to the school.
Yep.
And
you will know her.
Right.
Like it or not.
And so
it's going to happen.
We got to the school.
Her name was
Sylvia.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't know that was a makeup name.
I remember her name.
That's the name of that whack restaurant in, was it Harlem or Queens?
Harlem. Sylvia.
God, it was so
I wasn't
whack.
a big fan, no.
Anyway,
I was disappointed. Anyway.
Good.
But she drove me. We get there. They helped me unpack. And they were like, all right, so if you need to ride back home, you let me know. I was like, okay. But the school actually ended up taking me back home. So then I get there. There's a process. You get there. You have like this little orientation sort of where the students all meet each other and you share a little bit about yourself. And then the next day you get to play with dogs. You don't know what dog is what. They're just these dogs. You don't know if it's one that just started training, one that's getting ready to be placed. But what they're doing that for is to see what your personality is like. You go on a couple more Juno walks around. The reason for the Juno walks after you've been approved is because they need to see how strong of a dog they can give you. That also is during your interview too. They take that into consideration. And so they need to see how quickly you walk, how strong of a pull you need from your dog, how you are with your corrections when you need to correct your dog. Do you have a firm personality that you could, or do you need a dog who's a bit more sensitive because, you're not as firm? There's so many things that go into this. It's not just like, I want a dog. Okay, here. There's so, like, the seeing eye does these.
I think that's a big misconception of the general public. Like,
Yeah.
people just think you say, "Hey, I want a dog." I'm like, "Okay, here you go, Blondie.
No.
Enjoy." You know what I
No,
mean?
and it's
Like,
not like that. They literally they'll take in your. So the first dog I got was nothing like the one I have now. They take your lifestyle into consideration. I was a college student at the time, so I was 20, so much younger.
mm-hmm.
It's so many different factors: your personality, the type of energy level you have. I mean, it's down to the most minute detail. And then they ask you questions like, do you prefer male or female? Do you prefer a specific breed? I always say that I prefer a female dog, and then breed, I could care less. I don't care what kind of dog you give me, but I always prefer a female dog. I don't know, I just do. So you're playing with the dogs, and I love that part. I don't know if they still do it, because remember, this was years ago, and so they may have changed things around. This may not be absolutely accurate. This was years ago.
Just let Yadira play with dogs. She'll be happy.
Yeah, all day.
Just play with dogs all day long. She would love it. That's all she has to do.
I love it.
Just give her dogs.
Dogs. So
just a pile of them.
So we play with the dogs and stuff, and then there's a couple more walks or whatever. Anyways, eventually your doggy day comes, and you're waiting in your room because your instructor brings you your dog. Every student gets their dog one by one, and it's a very personal meeting. You know, the dog is brought to your room. They knock on your door, and like the whole time you are like on pins and needles, and your stomach is in butterflies, and it's just like, oh my God, my dog. Like, and for me, I was terrified because I was like, please, ya Allah, don't let this one fail. Please don't let this one fail. I don't know if I can handle that again. So they knock on the door, and I open it, and in bounds my beautiful black lab, Andrea. Oh my God, she was just this incredible ball of energy, and I can't even explain it. Wallahi, the minute I put my arms around her, I just knew this was it. She was mine, and it was subhanallah, it was going to work. There was this connection, and I cannot explain it. It was like I just had known this dog or something. I don't know. It was just this deep connection, like subhanallah, like Allah literally placed her for me. And she was just, my dog was insane. She was the one getting corrections before any of the other dogs, because they tell you don't correct them on the first day because they need to learn how to bond with you. They don't know you. All they still want is their trainer. That's the one they know. That's the one they want to be with. So, but my dog was just like, she was so strong-willed. And so she liked to mess with the other dogs while we were in meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So she would go and kind of like playfully nip at their paws. And then when they would try to play, she would go back and sit very regally, very like,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it.
I didn't do nothing. I don't know what you're talking about.
So
I did nothing.
So she had to get some light corrections very early on, because she was such a silly girl. And I remember at one point I was trying to walk with her, and she saw her instructor. Actually, what they do is they come get you from your room, and they bring you to the lounge, and that's where they introduce you to the dog. And so I'm hugging my dog, and then she saw her trainer, and I had her on leash, and literally she just got up on her hind legs and started walking away from me like people. Like and I'm like, what is she? This dog is insane. And my instructor was like, literally, I'm walking with her upstairs, and she was walking backwards. So she was just a crazy girl. She was so perfect for me. She was actually the smallest dog in the class at the time. And she was very, very strong. Like the dog they gave me had a really strong pull. I usually tend to get dogs with strong pulls, for whatever reason, and fast walkers. And so
I can answer that one. I know why you got fast walkers.
Yeah, I walk quickly.
And strong pull.
So
I mean, you're not a delicate little flower, wife. I mean, let's be real here. That's not the word I would use to describe you.
I remember that with Andrea, that might even be controversial for some people, but I remember that my instructor was like, you got a man's dog. Like this is not a joke. Your dog is crazy. Like
you got a man's dog.
I did. She was, oh my God, she was incredible. And subhanallah, a
very short man's dog.
Yeah. Right. Shut up. Anyway, so she, let's say halfway through the program again, she starts to have accidents, and I start freaking out because remember with the previous dog, she was having accidents at night in her sleep, and my dog starts having these accidents, and she's kind of, urinating just randomly, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. Like I started to panic, but her work was excellent. Like I could not ask for a better worker. She was a dog who would, when we would all go down to lunch and stuff, and we would end up being a crowd in the hallway, she was literally hitting other dogs, like nosing them, not hard, but pushing them aside with her nose, because she always had to be at the front of the line. And she was also, when they described her to me, it was her and two other dogs that they were like the leaders of the pack, and she was always in charge of the other two dogs. Like she was an alpha dog. She starts having these accidents, and I start freaking out, and I'm crying, and I'm like, this can't be happening again. Like this isn't. But it turns out to be, they ran some tests and they did all these things, and it just turns out to be that she had some weak muscles in her bladder, and it's actually a condition that's pretty common with dogs that get spayed. It can happen. It's not necessarily so rare. And so all it takes is taking these pills twice a day, and it solves the problem. So alhamdulillah, I finally, did the outtake interview, and I was able to finally get my guide dog and take her home, and I had accomplished my dream. And I'm excited and I'm thrilled. And a month into being home, like I'm feeling so confident. Like alhamdulillah, so grateful. And I'm walking home one day from my mother's house, and I'm like, man, I'm going to go. I remember this clearly because I was thinking, I'm going to go home. I'm going to feed Andrea and I'm going to make myself a sandwich. And out of nowhere, this dog burst out of his gate and just attacks my dog and just starts full on just attacking her. And so we had been taught that once the dog is getting attacked, you got to let it go, because they are in harness. If we hold on to them, we're actually putting them in danger, because the other dog has all the freedom to move and our dog doesn't have the freedom to defend itself. So I'm screaming and I'm yelling at the lady, come get your dog off mine. And I'm freaking out. And this lady is just sitting on a porch crying, and she's like, oh my God, I remember her dog's name. She's like, oh my God, Messiah, please come here. Messiah, come, Messiah, come. And yeah.
Look at the dumb, why are people so
I don't know.
stupid,
And I was like, I remember stopping.
God.
I was like, you're literally crying there. You're calling your dog. Come get your dog. I went off on the lady. I yelled at her. Eventually, this man came out from their home, came down, and was able to grab his dog. Alhamdulillah, my dog was not physically hurt. She had a couple bites, but nothing broke skin, but she was very frazzled. And so for the next week or so, maybe almost 2 weeks, anytime she saw a dog, she would lunge. She'd be working, but if she saw a dog, especially a large dog, she would lunge to attack first. I remember I called the seeing eye. I said, this is what happened. This happened about a week ago, and she's doing these. She's lunging at dogs. At every dog she sees, she lunges at them. She was like, I'm going to be on the defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, listen, we're going to be really honest with you. It's very early in her career, and even late in her career, a dog attack usually means retirement. You'll be able to keep her, but she won't be able to work. She's your dog now because you left the school. But usually it means you'll have to retire her, because it's such a traumatic event for the dog. Usually they can't overcome it. They just can't. So of course I'm just like, oh my God, subhanAllah, this is, what is happening here? At the same time, I'm petting my dog and I find a lump under her skin, and I'm like, oh, this isn't happening. The seeing eye comes out immediately, and they have an excellent support for their students. Incredible support. So the seeing eye comes out, and the trainer, she stays with me all day. We went to the vet, especially because I had a vet nearby, and we sat there all day just because dogs kept coming in and out, and we were able to, it was a perfect opportunity for her to get in contact with dogs and see them. So the whole time we're breaking her out of the habit of lunging, breaking her out of the habit, and we're walking around the neighborhood and going back to the vet. And this was literally, she arrived at my house at 8 or 9 in the morning. We didn't stop working until 5 or 6 at night. We just had a very quick lunch. We fed the dog, and we kept going and going, because she was like, I really don't want to see her retired. She's such an excellent worker, and you just got her, and you've been through so much trying to get a dog. So we worked all day, and subhanAllah, that dog worked for me for another, 6-7 years, I think. So she did not have to retire, alhamdulillah. She was, I'm telling you, she was such a strong dog, mashallah. She was very resilient. So yeah, that was my story to get my first guide dog. And then a couple, when she hit around, I want to say 8 or so, she got really, really sick. She developed food intolerance, which meant she was, and the first lump I found actually turned out to be benign, alhamdulillah. There was no cancer or nothing. She was just very prone to cysts. So she kind of had those throughout her life. When she was about 8, she developed food intolerance. She was allergic to everything she ate. So it meant that every 5 to 6 weeks, I was changing her dog food. And she was only eating medicated dog food, which is very, very expensive. At that point, I had to retire her because it was unfair to make this animal work. I just could not, I was like, subhanAllah, I'm going to get held accountable for making a dog work when they're ill. That just seems cruel. I was told just, she's costing you too much money. You keep having to go out of state to get her treatment because it was this incredible, the animal hospital in New York, the Animal Medical Center, I think it's called.
Something like that, yeah.
In New York. And if you have a guide dog or a service animal, I know specifically guide dogs, they treat your dog completely for free. So I would make the trek out to New York every time. SubhanAllah, because of their program and that generosity and because they're state-of-the-art facility, they were able to help me give her a few more, maintain her for a few more years. She also developed cancer, which they removed the tumor free of cost. And she was sick like that. She was close to 11 years old by the time she developed lymphatic cancer, and then her kidneys just failed. And at that point, I remember Nader and I were married already, and I was pregnant with baby number 3. And I remember I took my son's stroller and I put her in the stroller, and we went to New York on the train with a dog in a stroller. And I remember a gentleman passed me by, and you could see the heartache on my face. I was pretty much in tears. He said, "Is your dog sick?" I said, "Yeah, she's and I couldn't even finish it. And he said, "I'm so sorry." And she was dying. And I took her, and the whole time, the night, she had stopped eating. She would only eat from my hand, and only if I crushed up like the ground meat really tiny, and she would only eat like 2-3 bites, and only from my hand. She wouldn't even eat it from her bowl or nothing. And I remember the night before, I kind of spent the whole time just petting her and letting her go mentally and emotionally, because I knew what was coming. And so we get to the hospital, and they see her, and they immediately take her and they put her in with an IV and fluids. And they're like, right now she's looking a little better, but her kidneys are done. And quite frankly, the only thing left to do for her is put her on a feeding tube, and she'll have to live in the hospital half the week, and you can take her home maybe 3 days a week. And at that point, I said, if I keep her alive, I'm doing it for my own selfish reasons, because that's not a quality of life. And Allah's going to hold me accountable just for holding on to this dog who's clearly living in pain. That's no way to live.
Yeah.
So at that point, I made the difficult decision to put her down and to put her to sleep. That is something that gets me really choked up even thinking about it. She was almost an extension of me. She was my eyes. She was everything. She never left my side. She slept in my room, because the guide dogs have to sleep in your room. They're with you everywhere you go. When you first start their training, they're literally on leash with you. Everywhere you go, like even to the restroom, they are on leash with you. When you're going to take a shower, okay, you don't have them obviously in the shower, but the minute you get out, they're on leash with you for the first 2 weeks. And then you get to leave them loose around the room. And then when you take them home, it's the same process again, so that they bond to you and not to anyone in the house more than you. So they're on the leash, and it's a whole process that they have to be bonded to you, because if they're not going to be willing to guide you and keep you safe. They don't do these things because we make them. They do these things because these dogs, subhanAllah, the loyalty and love that Allah puts in these dogs' hearts. They do it because they love you so much, and they just want to make you so happy, and they're devoted to you. I remember being on a canoe one time at a camp, and I actually worked at. It was a camp for the blind, and there was a bear. It literally was behind. I was on the lake, and there was some trash, those huge trash bins, and behind those trash bins was the bear. So we didn't actually see it, but the code came out. And it was like, it's really hot today, guys, so we need to take a break and a breather and go inside for 15 minutes. That was the code for there's a bear. And I remember I was on a canoe in the lake, and I did not have Andrea with me. I had left her with the guys, the lifeguards and the guys that were at the dock. I could hear her, and this dog they don't bark or anything. But she was whimpering and growling and trying to get to me. And when I got to the dock, there were 2 guys holding her back. And they were like, thank God you came here, because honestly, we couldn't hold her no more. She was literally a second from jumping into that lake just to go get you. And when I got her, she was really protective of me. I could hear her low growling at whatever the threat was. And she was like, literally, I would walk and she was standing like, you know how you guard a body? Like you stand in front of somebody to guard them. That's literally how she was standing there to protect me. Mm-hmm. And she's not trained for that.
Yeah, it's just instinct.
Her instinct to protect me.
Yep. Yeah. All right. So we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
Right. So anything? I mean, of course, we don't have Andrea anymore. Who's your guide dog now?
Now we have Hazel, and the reason I said it was a little bit different is because when baby number 3 was born, I did not have a guide dog, and I reapplied, and by the time we got around to approving, I actually did home training. I did not go to the campus. And so that was only 9 days of training with an instructor that came to my house. It was every day. And subhanAllah, Hazel has been incredible. She's been with us through a move. She's, remember Andrea went with us on our honeymoon.
Mm-hmm. Andrea went to the Bahamas.
She did. Hazel has been
where
with
I had
us.
to ask you, yo, what's that dude saying?
Yeah.
What's my man saying? They
understand.
speak English.
Yeah, with the
But
accent.
I couldn't get the
And
accent.
everywhere I went, subhanAllah, everyone's like, I miss my dog. Can I just pet yours?
And Dita's like, no, take a walk, son.
No, I wasn't
Get
mean.
you and your stupid dog.
No, I was not mean. But subhanAllah, we have Hazel, and Hazel's incredible with the kids, and she's healthy, mashallah, and she's just as wonderful and connected to me as Andrea. And wallahi, these animals are a blessing from Allah. And I wish that the Muslim community would understand that.
I think we need to have a whole episode on your interaction with the Muslim community.
Yeah, that's a totally different thing. I just wanted to let you know a little bit my journey of how I got to have a guide dog and why it means so much to me personally to have these guide dogs.
All right. Thank you so much, Habibti, for sharing
Thanks
all that stuff.
Yeah.
And thank you guys for listening. Please, whatever, like, share, subscribe, do all those cool things you're supposed to be doing. All right.
Yeah.
Let people know. Let people know you got two blind people on here just telling you about our lives, hearing life from our perspective, so you can get a unique view of how we see things.
Yep.
So join us next time where we take you guys behind the blind.
Dum dum